Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening or watching this latest episode of TurfCast podcast with me, Joe Redmond, and of course, as ever, my panelist, Simon Talner. How you doing, mate? You all right? Big fan of that wave. Big fan of that wave then. If you are watching... Sorry, go on.
I'm just like kneeling on myself, and then I kind of realised that I need my elbows still to support me.
I'm going to say, if you're watching on the if you're listening on the podcast and you want to see Simon's special wave, head over to YouTube and you can catch us on there, or on Facebook as well. It'll be on there as well. How are you doing, mate? You all right? You've had a busy day today, haven't you? You've had a busy day, sat on your arse.
Yeah, it's been boring, mate. I'm not gonna lie. Been all business shit.
I kind of feel you because obviously I'm working from home now, as I've mentioned on the podcast a few times. I'll stop mentioning it soon. But I'm saying I just sit here in my kitchen. I've been sat here in my kitchen since 11 a.m. and it's now 10 p.m. the same day. And even that is probably more entertaining than what you're doing because I'm doing stuff, I'm working, but just being sat in the same place and doing one thing all day, fuck me, it's boring. And you've just been on Zoom meetings all day, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've got to pretend I'm a nice person and I feel like
you're quite good at pretending that, though. You are good at pretending.
I am. It's an actual skill that I've learned over the years.
No, it is. No, don't get me wrong. It sounds like I'm giving you shit, but I've noticed if I don't like someone, you can fucking tell. I'm not saying I will turn around and go, you're a dickhead and all that. And I'm one of these people that tells. I just pull my face and I get angry. Yeah, and you can tell I'm not interested. Whereas you can make someone think that you actually like them and that you're nice. Whereas I think that's why I barely have any mates because everyone can tell that I don't fucking like them because I don't like anybody. It's obvious. I think I don't like you, but you just think, fuck it, it's right. It probably means well. What do you actually talk about on Zoom meetings about hair then?
Oh, it's all fucking science, products, retail. I've got to put together shit to educate other hairdressers and present to them, and basically it's boring, mate. I've just got to inspire other hairdressers, but I get told what to do, and then I just go away with it. That's the way it works, basically.
Fair enough. Apologies if the quality isn't the best. I've had some internet issues only ever since I started trying to do this podcast. I don't know if it's my internet or the StreamYard servers are shit and it's eating up all my data or whatever. I'm not sure. But if it sounds a bit shit and it looks a bit shit, that's why. So I apologise for that. But we had no such issues.
Probably Virgin Media thinking you're taking piss out there all day on internet.
Probably think I'm streaming something all fucking day, which I have been doing. To be fair, I've been streaming horse races from all over the bloody world all day. So technically, as I was saying, I had no such issues for the watch along. The watch along went absolutely fantastic, but there was an issue for the watch along, wasn't there? There was one big issue, which I did tell people watching the watch along. But I think there's certain people that don't watch the watch along that do listen to the podcast that I think have a right to know. So you tell us the story, your version of events of what happened on that watch along that you were meant to be on Monday, but unfortunately you couldn't make it.
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to ask me to sort of say what happened on it. Then I might have even fucking watch it, man. I have no idea.
No, you didn't. I didn't even get a share off you. Fuming.
Did I not? Sorry, man. I was well busy. So basically, I've got a massive setup. I've got my tripod. I've got the thing camera set up, ready to what? It's all on charge, and I'm rushing around like a mad one because kids have got football training from 5 and they don't finish till 7. And then I'm home at like 7:15, and I thought, right, got to be ready before I go. Even the washing up, everything. And then next thing, he texts me saying, "How are you getting on with kids?" I'm like, "Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for caring, really." So I thought that was very kind of you. Yeah. And then I basically I take it you're not doing watch along now. I'm like, you little dickhead. Yeah, I've got 3 hours. So I've rushed around like a madman today. And then you're like, no, mate, match kicks off at 5:30. And I was like, are you for real? I thought it was 8 o'clock kickoff. So I had to watch it on my phone, watching my kid play footy.
Yeah, well, I remember I text you thinking like, how do I say this then? Because I think it's obvious he's not doing it, but I don't want to say, well, why are you not doing it then? So I just sort of said, I guess you're not doing it then. And then I didn't get a response for like 45 minutes, and then you rang me. I'm like, oh mate, I'm so sorry. I thought it were 8 o'clock, and I remember just fucking dying. Thinking, I'm gonna have to do it on my own now. I'm gonna have to do it on my own.
Apologize. It was literally like you text me from getting at home. You text me, and I thought I'll text him back when I stop. So leisure box, so it's 15 minutes for the exaggerative over there. And then I get there and I was like, what's he on about, dickhead? And then I realised, 5 kickoff, apologies.
It's all right. It's all right. Unfortunately, though, you missed out because Johnny Tate is now a watch-along co-host.
Okay, cool.
But that sounds horrible. But he sent me 100 stars, and there was 200 stars in the end. That was part of the contract. If we were going to send me more stars, so I'm going to finally, instead of giving you shit all the time, calling you a panelist, I'm going to finally promote you to co-host. But you're a co-host on the podcast and the watch-along. Johnny Tate could just be the watch-along. But Johnny Tate paid 200 stars for that, so count yourself lucky.
I paid my time.
Mm.
I'm here at 10 at night. We're sat here grafting.
Yeah, you can have that, but I'd prefer stars. I'd prefer stars. Speaking of stars, I just want to point out that despite being on my own, and I don't know why it did that, because I thought the watch along must have been boring as fuck. I was sat there thinking, wow, I've got naught to talk about. This must be so shit. But in terms of Facebook stars, it was the best performing watch along, best performing stream we've ever had on TurfCast podcast. I got sent 1,200 stars, which is ridiculous. I mean, my son had dessert that night. Put it that way. We had food that night. We celebrated, and it was the most viewed stream ever on YouTube as well. And I think our most viewed video ever on YouTube as well, because we don't tend to do that well on YouTube. I'm not really sure why. If you're watching this and you're on Facebook or you're watching it on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Because I've noticed around 60% of people that watch the videos aren't subscribed. So subscribe to me, Dick. What are you doing? Get subscribed and then everyone's happy. But yeah, the watch along will be back for the Spurs game, which is this Monday. Don't worry, Simon, it's 8:00. The kickoff is 8:00. Are you available?
I might not be, but I will try my best.
Oh, for God's sake. Well, we'll discuss that Sunday night, probably.
You give me shit on COD tonight.
Yeah, bro, I don't need to give you shit. Our other friend Adam will do it for you. For me, should I say. Before I move on and talk about the actual match involved in the watch-along, I just want to obviously mention our sponsors, Pitch Sport, or Pitch Footy, should I say. Pitch Sport is sort of like the name of the entire company, and Pitch Footy is the one about football, obviously. If you haven't already, please go and download their app. It is available on the Google Play and obviously the Apple app stores. It's sort of like a fan hub where you can chat to other fans, make predictions, all that sort of thing, select teams, and then chat about games after the games afterwards. And we even do a video every single week, and obviously we'll talk about this week's video later on in the podcast. Now, thankfully, I was going to mention to you off air and ask you if you actually managed to get time to watch the match, because I knew you obviously at the Ledger Box and stuff. But thankfully, you've said you did get to watch it. I was going to say to you, look, if you didn't watch it, just pretend you did. But now you've already said that you did, so I'm buzzing with that. What do you think of the game then? Obviously, West Brom 0, Burnley 0, first point of the season.
It's interesting because I genuinely thought it was a winnable game before the game, and I've come away disappointed that we didn't get the 3 points. However, I was I won't say extremely happy, actually. Extremely is a bit ridiculous, but I was very happy to see sort of the normality of return. Do you know what I mean? Just the balls getting whipped in again. West was delivering, McNeil having a run at 4, defensive sort of shaping, and another day with more confidence. Chris Wood is burying that chance. Maybe even buries a second chance. You know what I mean? Because I think that all them sort of things just accumulate to a lack of confidence. But thankfully, it's an upwards climb instead of a downwards climb where you're thinking, "Oh my God, we're looking awful at the minute." We're actually looking better, and if we can keep that momentum going in the big next 2 games, which are even scarier than the previous run-ins we've all had at the minute. But I don't know, mate. I'm positive. I've said it a million times on last year's podcast on season 1 that I could see us beating anyone at Turf Moor on the day. Obviously, there's no fans there at the minute, which is slightly different. But I still think we can do any result at home. I really can.
Going back to the West Brom game, I kind of agree with pretty much everything you said. I saw it earlier on as a winnable game, and not just a winnable game, a game that we kind of had to win, really. We haven't won it, so I've come away from it disappointed. But yeah, you look back at the game and you look back at how we played, and we just looked like Burnley again. That was a good thing. We looked like Burnley again. Yeah, we were solid at the back defensively. We created chances going forward, and that's the main thing, because we haven't been creating chances this season. I can't think of any chance at the Newcastle game apart from the Westy goal, and I don't think we created anything against Southampton, to be honest. So that was a worry. Now that's come back, I think we'll start scoring goals eventually, but at the minute the issue is obviously up front. But that's Chris Wood, for me, I've said it a million times, he's the best finisher of a ball I've seen at Burnley for a long time. I'd put Chris Wood up front before anyone else on the team sheet, and anyone else after him, I think for me, it'd be Jay, and I think that's probably where it comes. I think him and him and Jay work perfectly up front. I think Barnes is. We all love Barnsley, and he's a shithouse, and people don't really like saying bad things about him. But I think out of them three, he's definitely the worst. I think you'd always have Chris Wood and Jay up top. But yeah, I think the goals will come. I think the goals will come. I just think, like you said, Chris Wood, I've said it before and I'll say it again, he's a confidence player. He needs that goal. Then once he gets that goal, one of them, if not two of them, are going in. But a lot of people have forgot to mention Ashley Barnes' effort. Chris Wood, as usual, got a lot of stick. It was a good save at end back keeper, but Barnes has got to be burying his effort in the first half.
I mean, I've said this a million times about different players. Certain players get absolute torrid abuse. Other players get away with it because they love a tackle. You know what I mean? If you play for Burnley, you love a tackle, you're a hero.
It's one of them, though, isn't it? I think I think next game, Jay's obviously back. Look, he were back in the West Brom game. Obviously, came off the bench. I think he'll start with Chris Wood and Jay up top in the next game, and I think that will work better. However, like I said, I think it's a start. We've got a point. However, if we're playing Fulham next, or even like Southampton's, Newcastle's, or Palace's, I'll be like, right, we've got us foot on the ground now. Let's start running. But now it's a case of, right, we've got us foot on the ground now. We're probably going to get legged up again by these two things. So any confidence built from this game, I think might be just kicked straight out of us.
It could be. I mean, I think the first of the 11's got enough about it to see this season out. But basically, as far as the Jay Rodriguez comment going, I genuinely think that he will play Barnes. I think that, will you text that back for me, please? I think that he'll play Barnes. I think that he'll play sort of Peters at right back until he's one of them managers that plays him until something different is needed or an injury. That's the only thing he'll do. So because we've got a good performance away from him, you can see him still playing, but Peters at right back, you still see him playing Barnes up front. We've all said it a million times when we've been on a downward slope that it needs changing, and it takes 5 or 6 games till he does it.
That's a very nice way of saying he's stubborn. Yeah, which I think is what I'll say. I think he's a very stubborn man, and as much as we love him and he's been fantastic, there's been times when I think he's got team selections wrong because he's being stubborn. And yeah, maybe I'm just being a bit naive when I think that he'll play Jay. I just think that everyone knows that Jay and Wood is the perfect front two for Burnley.
If it was Wood and Vidra, I could understand you saying, yeah, because he seems to drop Vidra at the drop of an hat.
Yep.
But, for some reason, there's a certain players that he will not drop, and I can see Peters being right back for a little while as well, because I think Lawton's back, though. I've seen him on the training picture he put us today.
Yeah. We'll get on to that, obviously, because there was someone else available as well. But on the other side of because I did put a post up saying a much improved performance by Burnley, but unfortunately we couldn't take the points 0-0. And on TurfCast, as usual, on both Facebook and Twitter, actually, I normally sort of like see it on a certain channel rather than on both. On this time, it was on both Facebook and Twitter. A lot of people were sort of like saying, how can you call that much improved? But I think it was. However, we've already said that we both think it was. On the other side of the story, and the shoe being on the other foot, should I say? I'll put my teeth in, get my words out. We were playing a very, very a much poorer side than Southampton and Newcastle, really. So we're going to look better, or are we? Or is it just, or have we just got to focus on ourselves and the performance that we put in?
Yeah, like you said, though, go back to the lack of chances created. Look back to the sort of the individuals that we've been asking to start performing. Then things started to appear in the West Brom game. So I think look at your own performance.
Yeah, and one person I want to talk about as well, Dwight McNeil, just signed a new contract, and finally he's put in a good performance this season. Now I don't know if that contract thing's been hanging over his head or his head's been elsewhere or whatever, or it's just a coincidence, but I think that's a major factor in how our season could be a turning point, could turn around soon, is Dwight being good again, and the signs were good from that West Brom game.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we all know he's a great player. He's going to turn it on at some points in the season, and he's going to have down days, and I think the whole team was suffering that sort of momentum loss at the minute. So it's hard to pinpoint individuals, but we turn to them when we need them at times like this as well. So it's difficult.
Yeah, before we move on, I just want to point out, obviously, it was on pay-per-view. We watched it on our perfectly legal streaming devices. They are perfectly legal. But a lot of people, obviously, some people aren't aware of perfectly legal streaming devices, and Neil said another word then. And some people aren't aware of sort of like links where you can watch it online. So some people just were going to pay for it, or instead of paying for it, they've watched it on a perfectly legal streaming device or a link, and they sent the money somewhere else. And obviously that somewhere else was mainly the food bank, the Burnley food bank. So I want to give a shout out to FPL Claret. Apologies, mate, but I know you've told me your real name before when I met you to give you some rainbow laces, but I have forgot it. But it was him that got in touch with me, who sort of like said, I have this idea. And he said, I'm going to put a tweet out tomorrow. Could you retweet it? And what happened was, I've said before, I'm in like this WhatsApp group, and this tweet started doing the rounds of the Newcastle story, because Newcastle fans raised, I think, 16, 20 grand or whatever, I don't know. So then I retweeted that and put, anyone up for doing this tomorrow, knowing that FPL Claret had this idea, and then I'm going to go on from there and retweet it. However, that then got momentum from there. So I am sorry, FPL Claret, that kind of got momentum. But obviously the goal was to do that. And then other Claret's pages jumped on it after I retweeted that. And everyone just worked together, and it were good. And I just want to say that everyone give yourself a pat on the back if you sent money, and if you didn't and you couldn't afford it, because obviously some people can't, or you just shared it, whatever, that works as well. Obviously it gets it out there, and your share could have earned 150 quid or whatever. You never know. So I think everyone needs to give themselves a big pat on the back. So well done to Burnley fans for doing that, and it's well done, Simon. And it's a big 2 fingers up to pay-per-view, because I don't necessarily agree with it. I know a lot of fans don't agree with it. Some fans have had Jake, who's a regular follower and interactor on Facebook and Twitter, get in touch and actually say no, he's glad that they're doing it, because it gives him the chance to watch it. There's a lad called Graham who comments on everything, who also is glad that they're doing it. Obviously, everyone has different opinions.
I'm glad they're doing it, but I'm not glad at the way they're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the point that we made, weren't it? It shouldn't be £15 per game. You know what I mean? That's the point. However, it gives us the opportunity. Yes, it does, but they should be doing it in different ways. But shout out to everybody who donated. Shout out to everybody who shared, and a massive shout out to FPL Claret, because I think that message that he sent to us is the reason why it happened. Is, to be honest. So I think to be honest, FPL Claret, you can sort of like take that with you and know that you made a bit of a difference. So well done there. You briefly pointed out you saw Matt Lawton on the training pitch, obviously on a picture that you said you saw me put out. I did steal that picture of Burnley Football Club, I'm not going to lie. That picture was their copyright, whatever. But obviously the main person in that picture was Ben Mee being back on the training pitch. So that's obviously brilliant news.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we keep building on this thing, and this good news keeps coming to us at the minute. And Ben Mee is a massive part of this team, and we've missed him dearly. And I can't wait to see him back. I think he'll have to do the under-23s before he gets into the first team, but sooner the better.
Yeah, because obviously he's going to need fitness. Now, I know I've played devil advocate before on here and spoke about how I'm not really sure why he's out. The club said it was a thigh issue. I know people have told you that they believe it was a thigh issue and that he definitely was injured. But I just want to say as well that I saw a picture. I can't remember what the company was that put it up. First Year Films or something. That's Ben's daughter. I can't remember her name for the life of me. Apologies, Ben, if you're listening. He's probably not. Is finally home from hospital. So that's brilliant news. Obviously, that's good news in itself as well. Then Ben's back in training this week, so that's fantastic. But yeah, he's even if he was just off for family issues, which no one would obviously have an issue with. No. He still hasn't been training. So he is going to need to play for the under-23s to get that match fitness, to get that match sharpness. So you're probably not going to see him on Monday against Spurs, but hopefully we'll see him soon.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it didn't take Leslie Barnes long, did it? And it didn't take J-Rod long, and Gudmundsson were back rapid. So let's hope that this one's back. Which
was a strange one for Gudmundsson, because he normally takes him about 6 months. But I think we can expect. This is just me guessing. I don't know any sports science things or whatever. I think we can probably expect Ben to play 2 games in the under-23s, and then maybe have him back for the Chelsea game, probably. If not, the game after that, which I believe is Brighton. I might be wrong, though. Could be Palace. I can't remember. But I think he'll be back soon.
Yep.
Fingers crossed he is. And obviously, you said you saw someone else in that picture. You saw Matty Lowton in that picture. What's been up with Matty again? Obviously, you know Matty, so I think you. I can't
remember. It was the Raheem Sterling scissor challenge that whacked his ankle out.
Yeah.
He had a
Oh,
boot
what
on
about
for a
that?
few days. He had a
I
boot
forgot
on.
about that. And obviously that coupled with Phil Bardsley getting coronavirus, we didn't have a right back at the weekend. And I know we were just saying Dyche was stubborn, but surely he'd put Louts there instead of Peters. Come on.
I hope so. From obviously as a friend / hairdresser or whatever. But yeah, absolutely, I hope so. But he didn't do a bad job, did Peters? I'm not gonna lie.
No, to be fair, he did really, really well, and
Yeah.
I love Peters for that. He just doesn't give a shit. He will play wherever Dyche tells him to play. Some other players, for example, will probably say, "Well, no, because I look shit because it's not my position." He don't care. He's the new Hendrick. He'll do.
Yeah. I was going to say the modern day Branch.
Modern day Branch, yeah. Well, Branch is seen as more of a legend than Hendrick is, and I think Peters.
Yeah.
I think he will go more down that route of the opinion of Burnley fans. I don't think people will give Peters loads of shit like they did with Hendrick. I think they'll give him sort of like treat him the same Branches. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from there.
Basically, Paul Ince was on the game, watching the game on the stream that I was watching, and basically he said that we didn't have that tenacity in the midfield anymore. We wasn't sort of winning for the second balls, things that they know Burnley for, and specifically mentioned Hendrick as being a massive loss into that tenacity that we haven't got at the minute.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of them. I think he'd have always been behind Brownhill and Wester in the pecking order even now, so he probably wouldn't have been there anyway. But I think Westy does that just as well, if not better. It's just, I think what it is with Hendrick, yeah, he did. I think with Hendrick in there with Wester, there was two players doing that, so it was like a double sort of like chance of winning it, whereas Brownhill's more of a forward-thinking sort of player, so maybe we are a bit light in that area. But I do think that Hendrick would have been behind Brownhill and Westy in the middle. It's
good to see him make the change as well with Stevens. It's good to point that out. Sort of like he's actually thought, no, Gudmundsson on the right and put Brownhill back in the middle. I was a massive fan of that before the game. And look at it, mate. It showed in our creativity.
The proof is in the pudding. I think, yes, he is stubborn, but stuff like that. If you're playing Stevens in the middle and Brownhill out wide when Gudmundsson's available and Westy in the other position in the middle, then people are going to be checking his sanity rather than thinking he's a bad manager, because that'd be a ridiculous decision. It wouldn't even add up at anything. But yeah, the proof's in the pudding. We were a lot better. We're a lot more better going forward. We even look better defensively. Which actually, another point, I give Kevin Long some stick, and half of the time, and I still stand by the fact that I do think it's deserved. However, it was class against West Brom. So fair play, Kevin Long. You did really well there. But it's as soon as he starts picking his performances up, he'll just get dropped because Ben Mee's coming back. So bit of a shame there for Longy. But yeah, I just want to quickly touch on Phil Bardsley getting coronavirus. That came out of nowhere.
I know, apparently it does, mate. It's virus.
Yeah, true. But it was just a weird one, weren't it? Because they just sort of like, I was like, where's Peters at right back? And then literally the tweet after it, like 2 minutes later, the club like, yeah, Bardo's got coronavirus. I'm like, oh, fair enough. Wishing Bardo a speedy recovery.
That's just a Burnley social media. Well,
I won't get back into that. I've done enough for that digging on this show. So we won't. Everyone knows my opinion. But yeah. Wishing Phil and his family members, because apparently his brother has it, a speedy recovery. My missus had it, and we've only just been let out the house again this week. Monday was my first day allowed out the house, so hopefully he'll be fine. I'm pretty sure he will be because he's a fit young man. Even me and my missus were both fine. We don't know if I've had it, by the way. We definitely know my missus has had it. I've probably had it because I'm living in the same house as her. I've been asymptomatic if I have had it. She had a bit of a bad chest. I'm sure Phil will be fine. Right, now, time for this week's Pitch Sport question. Now, I haven't even checked. Hopefully, there are some responses to this week's question, because I haven't even checked. There could be absolutely none. Thank God there is some there. The first name that I see, Mark Howarth. What a guy. Thank you, Mark. And thank you for always commenting on my stuff and saving me from looking like an absolute idiot. So thank you, Mark. Hope your milk round is going well, because he listens to us while he's doing his milk round. Because as Simon only found out this week, or last week, he's a milkman. He gets up at 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Me and you were still awake on COD at that time when he's getting up ready for work.
Time to go to bed.
About 5 p.m.
Oh, nah.
No, I couldn't do it.
No wonder he goes mad when behind at work.
But the question I asked, and I'll ask it you now, is, do you think the current Burnley squad is good enough to keep us in the Premier League?
Yes.
Expand, please.
Okay. Basically, I think that the 11. I've said it before. I say it again. That when we have our first 11, it's more than capable. You don't finish 10th on pure luck. You don't finish in Europa. I know that it's a slightly sort of condensed version, but the main 11 at the core, sort of built around certain players, are still there. So yeah, no, I've got no qualms with the first 11 being a successful Premier League team. Fingers crossed they get back fit enough that it's not too late to sort of save the season.
Yep. Speaking of Mark Haworth, his comment is top, so I'll read that one first. He says, yes, we will stay up, provided we don't have another injury list like we just have. All our players returned or returning will need a few matches to get back to full sharpness, and then I think the results will come. So that's just pretty much exactly what you've said. Kez Claret says, I think it's just about good enough, but whether we can keep the majority of them fit is a different question. Same sort of vibe. Neil Layfield, friend of the podcast and watch along regular, says the strongest 11. He's never forgot a watch along, by the way, so that's a feather in Neil's cap. The strongest 11 is definitely strong enough, but as we have just seen, if any of them are injured, then we aren't good enough. So it's a similar sort of vibe. Everyone's sort of like saying we need to keep people injured. Dan Greek says, absolutely. Just need to carry on doing what we usually do. Callie Graham, which I presume is Graham Jennings, who's a regular interactor, says, so long as our best 11 can stay fit, you can see the theme here. So long as our best 11 can stay fit, then yes. However, with a season packed into a shorter period, that may be difficult. Good point. JBG is the key for me. If we can get over 20 games for him, it will really help us. And HFH DJD JENEBDUFHRN, I'm not sure that's his or her real name, says, yes, if we are fortunate with players not getting to severe injuries. So literally everybody has said the same fucking thing. Yes, we can stay up, provided we don't get injuries. And that is pretty much, surely we can't have another injury list like the end of last season and the start of this season.
No, I can't see it. It doesn't happen often like that.
It don't, does it? It don't, does it? Surely it's
it happens to every club at some point of the season.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
but not again and then straight away. So fingers crossed it don't happen again. Now I want to move on to an interview that the club did this week, because we have been asking here at TurfCast podcast for a club official. Well, we did ask for Garlic to come out and explain the transfer window. Unfortunately, Garlic didn't want to come out and do it, so he sent the club chief executive officer out, Neil. What's his last name? Neil Hart. Apologies. He sent him out. And fair play to Neil for doing it. Majorly respect the fact that he's come out. It's part of his job role as a CEO, obviously. But he could have said no. But he's come out and done it. I would have preferred if Garlic done it, obviously. But obviously, Garlic would have been telling Neil the sort of narrative to spin and things like that. So you're pretty much getting off Neil what you got off Garlic, what you would have got off Garlic. Obviously, it was an interview with the club, with I think it's Pete who works at the club. So he's not going to be challenged, unfortunately. He's not going to be challenged on anything that he says that a fan might think, what the fuck are you on about? So there's none of that. It is literally just a club official being interviewed by the club, pushing out a narrative that the club have told him to push, which is fine. It's fine. I would like to see him challenged on some things, and not even Neil at Garlic, obviously. But obviously, I just want to touch on a few things that he said. The first thing he said, I'm obviously not going to go through the entire interview. If you want to watch the interview, it's on Clarets Plus. And I know a few people get annoyed that Clarets Plus is behind a paywall. This interview isn't. I think you can watch it on Burnley YouTube as well. I actually signed up for Clarets Plus just to watch this interview. So you can watch it for free. If you want to watch it, head over to burnleyfootballclub.com and there's a Clarets Plus link on there somewhere and you can watch it there. But his first comment I want to touch on is the part he spoke about the transfer window. This didn't really go down too well with some of the fans. He said, our priority this window was to retain some of our main assets. We would have all taken that at the beginning of the transfer window. That is as good as bringing in any new players, in my view. What did you make of them comments, Simon? Straight back.
So I've got to be careful because obviously I know Neil Hart. stuff, so I don't want to got a thing here.
Yeah,
However, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you can talk as a fan, obviously.
Go on.
Sorry, I think we're a little bit behind.
As a fan, 3/4 of what he said is 3/4 of what he said is bang on. It's that last part of the sentence that sort of like makes it just diminishes what he said, because everything he said is right. With the R assets, we do want to keep them. We would have taken that at the beginning of the season, but it's not as good as it's not as new signing, and you can't say it is.
I think for me, I agree with that. I think obviously we want to. Every fan wanted to keep Tarker. Every fan wanted to keep Pauper. Every fan wanted to keep Dwighter. No one's ever called him that ever, but I felt like I needed to carry on. Would I have taken just keeping them and not signing anybody at the start of the transfer window? I'd have probably said no. I'd have said we need to keep them and sign somebody, improve the squad. You know what? If we hadn't just let Hendrick, Hart, Lennon and all the rest of them go, I'd have probably said, yeah, you know what? I will take that. But the fact we lost so many players, I felt that we needed to keep them. And even if we sold one of them, I'd have been pissed off, obviously, but I'd have understood why to bring new players in. Would I have taken that at the start of the window? No, like I just said, I'd have rather. But yeah, it is that line. It is that line that I think's pissed everybody off. I think it needed to read the room a bit better with that sort of last line. I think it'd have got away with it if he didn't say that, where he says that is as bringing in as good as bringing in any new players in my view, because that's the line that the club always comes out with every single fucking 6 months, and it pisses people off. So read the room, see what's annoying people, and maybe don't do it in January.
I'd like to sort of make the comment, not that it'll matter because the context will have been taken from earlier and just thrown into it. They won't bother about this, but I'd like to say that fair play to him. Just go back to what you said. He has come out. He has done it. He has thrown himself in the lion's den, because there wouldn't have been much he could have said to make us happy at that point. If I'm honest with you, there's not much he could have said other than we're selling the club. It's in the process. Bear with us. That's the only thing he could have said that would have made us say, all right, fair enough. That's all he could have said, but they haven't said that. And what he has said, like anything else, would have gone down like shit on a blanket. But he's a fair play to him for coming out. Fair play for him saying what he's saying. And I do think that he's probably just saying what he thinks that we want to hear. And unfortunately, it's just that sort of like momentum stuck him into that next part of the sentence, I think, because everything he has said up to that is fine. Yeah,
like I said, I do respect him for coming out to it. He's quite new in the role, I think, newish anyway, because obviously he was the CEO of the Clarity community. So I'm not going to say he's learning, but I'm sort of like saying that fair play for him to coming out so soon into such an important role. The next thing I want to talk about is another comment he said. Obviously, this one's a bit more positive about the potential takeover. However, he never used the word takeover. Now, someone like Neil is an intelligent man. I've never met him, but he'll obviously be an intelligent man to get to the position that he's in as a CEO of a Premier League football club. He's obviously done very well in his life to get to that position. It's something that I will obviously probably never achieve. So just listen to what he says. He doesn't say the word takeover. He says it's no secret that the club has been looking for external investment. That is an ongoing process. As and when we can communicate to supporters that the process has come to a conclusion, we will. I think what I can take from that is, number one, it's happening. 100% something is happening. Obviously, of course it is. And we're just looking at that. We were all talking about it as potential rumours and stuff. A club official, the CEO of the club, has come out and said pretty much, yeah, it's happening. However, the word, obviously, that I'm focusing on is the word investment. He doesn't say takeover. Now, whether he's being careful, there's obviously 2 or 3 ways that he could be doing this here. A, he could have just said it and not been thinking about what he's saying, but I don't buy that for a second. B, he could have used that word purposefully and used it as the main word in that sentence on purpose, because we are looking for investment and not a takeover. So whether someone just takes over 30% of the club and pumps in X amount of money for that 30%, that could be what's happening. Or the third one, I can't remember what it were now. The third one. He's doing it because he doesn't want too much to come out at the minute about it. He doesn't want people to know it's going to be a takeover. So he's just using that word to sort of like keep people away a bit of what's actually happening.
I think that he's basically that you just said, he knows the questions before he's even sat down in the Bob Lord stand and probably done a photo shoot with everyone.
He's been sent them
with a new kit and probably used the same cameraman to do the kit launch. Exactly. So he knows the questions. He chose his wording carefully. That's what he gets paid to do, mate. He doesn't just get paid to sign things. He gets paid to keep peace and make decisions to things like this. And 100%, from what I'm reading, our job is to interpret that and to read between the lines. He's saying an investment. That's just another word for me, for someone coming in and buying into the club, which is a takeover if they own the majority. So it doesn't matter which way you put it. And then he, like you said, he can't say it, because what if it doesn't happen? It looks like a tit and it'll all go back on him because he's the one who's come out and said it. So no, yeah, I think I'm on your side, and I think everyone should be positive from that and say that we are looking at probably a takeover in the near future. I'm hoping before Christmas.
Yeah, well, there another thing that you've just led me on to something else. I weren't going to mention this. He said we can expect a busy January transfer window. And that, to me, I'm not going to discuss whether or not that will happen, because we'll discuss that in December. That, to me, suggests that the takeover could be done before Christmas. Else he wouldn't have said that.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm getting it from. I think it'll happen before Christmas.
Moving on, because the internet connection isn't the best. Apologies for the moments of silence where I'd finished speaking and I hadn't even got to Simon yet. I don't know why it's so shit today, but it is. Virgin Media, sort your life out. So we'll quickly start. We'll wrap up. Get on, sort of like quickly, and get on to the Spurs game. Obviously, Spurs game coming up Monday, 8 p.m. Simon may or may not be available for the watch along. However, that's a different matter altogether. Spurs game. Talk to me about it. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on the Spurs game?
Unfinished business, right? I'm thinking we got absolutely spanked. I wanted to use a better word than that, but I don't know if it's appropriate for some of the listeners. We got absolutely spanked against Spurs last year. The goal of the season, the Premier League goal of the season, was scored against Burnley. That pisses me off. I want to see the goal of the season scored by us, not against us. So I think there's unfinished business. I think that we're you know what's the word? Is a wounded animal or a scolded animal or something like that. Basically, you know, there's a different fight in that kind of animal, and hopefully that we come out there and said, you know what, this can't happen again. And like you said, the momentum's slightly up. We're not in a great position in points wise, but let's hope that we can sort of use everything collectively and not have another Son wonder goal.
Yeah, and I think, didn't we get screwed over by a penalty decision against Spurs at home last season? Did it finish? No, I can't remember. That's a few years ago. That actually, I'm talking shit. But the last couple of home games, we've done well against Spurs, haven't we? Like the Son goal that you're referring to was at White Hart Lane. Not White Hart Lane. White Hart Lane's gone. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because they still haven't thought of a name yet. Yeah. So we tend to do well against Tottenham at home. So fingers crossed we can do it again.
Yeah. And Mourinho never gets goals and as many goals as he did against us. It was like a massive deal, and they've never scored 5 fucking goals or something stupid. And yeah, no, I'm quietly positive that we can start turning results. And do you know what? Like I said, I've said it again a million times. At home, we can beat anyone, and why not Spurs?
Yeah. Predictions quickly.
I'll go for. Sorry if there's a delay. I'm answering as quick as I can, but I'll go for Nickel 1-0.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go 1-1. I think these games tend to help us a little bit, because we sit back and just try and invite teams onto us, and I think we'll be good at that again now. I think, you know what, if we had Ben Mee, I'd probably be. Yeah, I think we'll definitely get a point. I'm a bit hopeful when I say 1-1. To be honest, my heart's ruling my head here. My head is saying, yeah, we'll probably get beat 2-0, 3-1, something like that. But I'm going to go with my heart today, and I'm going to say 1-1. I'm going to wrap it up here, because obviously the internet connection is a bit dog. If you look out for the eagle-eyed amongst you, will obviously realise that this week I didn't do a pre-game show with a West Brom fan. That was because the West Brom fan that I'd got in touch with let me down, a bit like Simon for the watch along. I can't do a pre-game show on my own, can I? So I just didn't do one. I've already been in touch with a Spurs podcaster, He hasn't said yes yet, but the signs are there that it could happen, and fingers crossed it happens. So keep your eyes peeled for the pre-game show. Probably be streaming on either Sunday or Monday, the day of the game, probably a little bit earlier on, around 5, 6 p.m, something like that. And then we'll get on to the watch-along at 8 p.m. Hopefully Simon's there. Thank you for coming on, though, Simon. If you haven't already, please do follow us on all the usual places. It's TurfCast Podcast on Facebook, TurfCast Podcast on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and all the other places as well. A big shout out to Simon for coming on, and a big shout out to everyone for watching, and I will see you soon.